What's going on, guys? Today, I'm going to be ranking every single UFC pay-per-view. Now, first off, let me get up the UFC 297. Bruh. I'm gonna give my thoughts and breakdowns. Or not thoughts and breakdowns, I'm just gonna rank them all. And let's start off, well, so far. Everything so far. So far, these are out of order. Oh, it doesn't matter. Who fucking gives? Alright. First up, UFC 297. Oh, this card was looking good at first, but then it lost Blachowicz versus Rakic 2 and Reyes versus Olberg, which I think would have made the card like a lot better. But I'm glad Reyes versus Olberg didn't make it through because now Reyes got to fight Jacoby and knock out Jacoby, and now he gets to fight Smith and knock out Anthony Smith. So can't be too mad about that. But factoring in how stacked the card was and how entertaining the card was, it's like an E tier card, man. Shit wasn't good. The only interesting fight was fucking Strickland's. I thought Chris Curtis had a decent fight and Arnold Allen had a decent fight, but he got robbed. But every other fight was just kind of a bore. Just wasn't much entertainment. Just kind of boring, forgettable fights. Just not much to really ride home about. You know? Not much to ride home about. Volkanovski versus Topuria, I'm gonna put this in the B tier. Now going through the card, there are some good ones. I mean, you got Quinlan versus Danny Barlow, crazy fucking masterclass from Barlow, brutal knockout, beat down. I mean, you have Junior Tafa versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima, which was kind of weird because it was a leg kick TKO from a heavyweight. Don't see those often. Zhang Min Yang versus Brenton Habero, crazy good fight. Crazy knockout from Zhang Min Yang. You got Lomos versus Dern. You got there was Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. That was a good fight. That was a really good fight. Marab versus Cejudo. That was pretty entertaining. Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary existed. It happened. We had Whitaker versus Costa. That was a good fight. That was a fight of the night. Except they gave it to Lemos versus Dern, which kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And then we had the knockout of Topuria against over Volkanovski. Topuria knocked him out. Sad, but crazy knockout. Crazy good performance. Not much you can complain about with that card. Sure, there were some stinkers here and there. There were some. You had Nakamura versus Vera, where it was literally just Vera fucking Imanari rolling every 6 seconds because he blew out his shoulder. But it is what it is. It was a pretty good card. Can't complain too much about it. Next up, UFC 299. Let me look through this card just to make sure about everything. All right, 299. Let me think about this. It was an S tier card. It was an S tier card. S tier doesn't mean it was the best, but S tier means it was fucking fantastic. I mean, what on the prelims you had fucking Pedro Munoz, Kyler Phillips. Let's just go off of name value. Munoz Phillips, Gamrot Dos Anjos, Blades Almeida. I mean, what else do we have? We had Michelle Pereira, Mikhailo Jacek, the debut of Robelis to Spain, which turned out to be a real big fraud check. Real big fraud check happened. The GOAT Ion Tutalaba was on it. The main card, Yan, Yadong, Burns, Madalena, Holland, Page, Poirier, Benoit, O'Malley, Vera. I mean, this guy. This card was insane. In terms of the fights, crazy good fight from O'Malley, masterclass. Crazy war from Benoit and Poirier with a nice knockout. Page doing Page things. Burns and Madalena, crazy comeback KO from Burns, even though Burns it should have been 1-1, but it's whatever. Jan ending the loss streak in an entertaining fashion. Curtis Blades sleeping the crotch sniffer Almeida, the boring, dirty crotch sniffer Almeida. Gamrot. Kyler Phillips absolutely dismantling Pedro Munoz, beating him every round. Pereira getting a crazy 1 minute submission, hurting Mikhail to the body. Despain, 20-second knockout. I mean, this card was really insane. Now, I think we all know where this next one's getting ranked. UFC 300 is an S tier. I mean, come on. Come on, dude. From the start, Figueiredo and Garbrandt on the early prelims, Figgy getting a submission. Then we have Bobby Green and Jim Miller. Bobby Green fucking putting a masterclass and beating the shit out of Jim Miller. Andrade Rodriguez, which was actually, I don't care what you say, that was a really good fight. It was a pretty good fight, and it was a war. Jalen Turner versus Hanato Moicano. Money Moicano, getting a second round TKO over the GOAT. Over my GOAT getting a second round TKO. Diego Lopez versus Sadiq Youssef. Lopez cementing himself in the rankings with a round 2 knockout. Holly Holm, Kayla Harrison, the debut of Kayla Harrison. Aljo doing Aljo things. Even though, you know what, despite that, it was an entertaining fashion. Yuri Prohaska going to war with Rakic and then just sleeping him. No, not sleeping him, knocking him out. Bo Nickel, Oliver Sarukian. Pretty good fight regardless. Gaethje Holloway, KO of the year. Not fight of the year though. KO of the year though. Zhang Weili, Yan Xiaonan. Despite what many people say, that was a good fight. That was a good fight. And it was actually surprisingly competitive. I don't care what you say. Yan Xiaonan won 2 rounds. She knocked her down twice. Ferreira sleeping Salty Man Hill. I mean, man, it was just an amazing card. Now let's go on to 301. Let's look. Let's look through it really quick. Ba 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 ba. Let's look at the early prelims. Let's look at that really quick. Yeah, da 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 da. Okay. I think I'm gonna put this in the B tier. I think this card was pretty entertaining. So first off, let's go through the main card. Actually, let's start from the early prelims. Ismail Bonf, we got so first off we had Costa versus Borjas. KO from Costa. Bonfim beating the shit out of Vince Pichel. Mauricio Hoofy makes his debut. Hoofy, really good prospect now. People got his eyes on him. We had Joaquim Silva versus Jakar Close. Honestly, that one wasn't too bad of a fight. The first rounds were the first round was pretty entertaining, I thought, and the third round was pretty good, but the second round was kind of a bore. Oralby and Brenner, fucking great fight from both. Lucindo Kowakalic, yeah, it was mid, but it was pretty decent. Shore versus Brito. Brito fucking somehow cutting open Jack Shore's shin with a leg kick. Pretty crazy. Boralho versus Paul Craig. Crazy KO from Boralho. Michelle Pereira's fucking 54-second submission. Anthony Smith, the goat on the on paper goat, getting a fucking first round guillotine. Jose Aldo getting a win that he deserves. Fucking outclassing Jonathan Martinez. And then Pantoja versus Urseg, which was a war. It was an entertaining war. And you can't tell me otherwise. That was a war. Overall, it was a good card, and I think it didn't give enough credit. I think it didn't get enough credit. No, let me look at this. So, let me hold on. Let me look at this. Let me look at this card. Yeah. Wow, this card lost so many good fucking fights. Let me look at all these. Yeah, da, 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 da. Oh, I'm on this fight. Okay. I'm gonna put this in the C tier. Pure thing is, I think there were just too many, just kind of boring fights. I mean, Andre Lima, Mitroposo, kind of a bore. Hafez versus Gall was kind of a bore. Perez versus Edwards was kind of a bore. Wait, what the fuck? That is, no, he's 9 and yeah. What? Yeah. Okay, I'm not stupid. Okay. Sorry, I just looked at something random. It was kind of a. I mean, it was kind of a war, but it was just underwhelming. Uh, Philip Rowe versus Jake Matthews, just underwhelming from Philip Rowe. Still boring. Grant Dawson, not even gonna fucking talk about it. Gelton Almeida had the first finish of the card. Did he? Let me make sure. Yeah, he had the first finish of the card. Goat shit from Almeida. Changing up his style, trying to fucking finish a fight finally. He has 20 finishes in his career actually, but I like the shit on him. Also, yeah, he deserves to get shit on for that fucking Derek Lewis fight. If you're finishing fucking Rosenstrike and you're finishing all these other guys, these fucking better fighters, more skilled technical fighters, finish Derek Lewis. Kopylov versus Almeida started out pretty good, but just didn't end very strong because Almeida had to resort to takedowns because his gas tank isn't the greatest. Brown versus Dos Santos, pretty mediocre fight. Price versus Morono, again a pretty mediocre fight. Holland Olajic, good submission, but still. Strickland versus Costa, again a mediocre fight. And then we have Makhachev Poirier, a war, entertaining fight. It's just none of these fights on this card really delivered besides Holland and Makhachev Poirier. Makhachev Poirier made up for the rest of the card because the rest of the card was mid as fuck. Now, moving on to this. Yeah, okay, three. Okay, yeah, just had to make sure about this. UFC 303. Let me look at it really quick. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, fuck, man. Oh, fuck, man. Wait a minute. Hold on, wait a minute. Meaning, how is it? Tinto, we stand on, come yeah, oh, I'm sorry. That song's cringe as fuck. Let's be real. I'm gonna put this in the B tier. So from the start of the card, I mean, we had Simone versus Oliveira, and that was a really entertaining fight. Oliveira beating the shit out of Simone, outclassing him on the feet, taking him down, just beating up, just completely dismantling Ricky Simone. I don't know. I don't even know how Ricky Simone was ranked at this point. Jesus. Then we had Suraya versus Hernandez, which was a grappling match, but I'm gonna say this. This is what an entertaining grappling fight is. Going for submission after submission. If you're gonna keep it on the ground, make sure you're trying to finish the fight. Suraya was trying to finish the fight, and that's entertaining grappling. He was going for twisters, arm bars, oh, plot. He was fucking transitioning and doing weird things. Then it was Arlovsky, Badai, Waterson Gomez, mid as fuck, both mid. Then that's leaving the early prelims. The prelims, that's where it got good. So we had Peyton Talbot, Giannis Gamori. Sick knockout from Talbot. Not 20 seconds. Gene Silva getting a fucking beautiful uppercut KO over Jourdain. First person to knock out Charles Jourdain. Feely and Swanson went to a split decision. People thought it was a robbery. I have to rewatch it. I really don't know. I have to rewatch it, but I didn't think it was a terrible. I don't think it was a robbery. I thought it was a close split decision, but I don't know about robbery. Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barrial. Crazy knockout from Joe Pyfer. Flatline KO. Fucking flat on the ground. Then it was Machado, Gary, and Page. And we don't have to talk about this one. But then we had Macy Chasson versus Myra Bueno Silva. And that was a really good fight. People are going to deny it, but it was a really entertaining fight. They were going at it. Fucking these bitches were fighting for who doesn't have to get up be in the kitchen tonight. Really entertaining fight. Then we had Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Smith. We're not going to talk about that one because that was it was okay, better than Gary and Page, but still mid. Dan Ige versus Diego Lopez. The goat Dan Ige showing up on 4 hours notice. Pretty entertaining fight. Underwhelming because there's Diego Lopez, but Dan Ige is just a nugget of muscle that you cannot finish somehow. Not to say like, oh, how are you not finishing Dan Ige? It's like, dude, how do you finish this guy? Because Dan Ige is just impossible to finish. Then we had the main event, Pereira Prochazka 2, the rematch. Pereira getting a crazy knockout in that fight. All in all, amazing fight. Pretty good card. There are some things on like the main card kind of held it back a bit, but honestly, all in all, pretty good card. Then we have 304 Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad 2. Let's look through everything one more time. Oh, there's this fight on the card. Okay. All right. I think I'm going to throw this one in the B tier as well. So starting out, the card started off weak because it had fucking Sean O'Bannon starting out the card. Who really gives a shit? Then the GOAT, Mick Parkin, gets a first round knockout. Good fight. Sam Patterson beats the shit out of Kiefer Crosby. Hurts him with a clean shot, gets him to the ground, gets an arm triangle submission. Modestus Bukauskas, Marcin Prachnio. Fucking kind of a crazy back and forth fight, honestly. A crazy back and forth fight. You know what I'm just not realizing? They gave Paddy Pimblett They gave him two of the fucking bonuses. They gave Paddy Pimblett two bonuses. When Bukowskis and Patterson both got finishes that I think were pretty entertaining and worthy of a finish. Whatever. Then there was Preston Parsons versus Oban Elliott. Now I'm not gonna say this one was crazy good, but it was an impressive performance from Oban Elliott because Parsons was the favorite. He was the underdog and takedown defense. The fuck is outside? It's fucking loud. Jesus. Well, moving on to the prelims. I mean, oh, this is where it got bad. So it was Makayev versus Cape. We don't have to talk about it. I'm not gonna talk about it. I don't want to fucking talk about that fight. Jake Hadley versus Keelan Logren wasn't a terrible fight, but I think it seemed better than it really was because I think it just seemed better than it was because it came after Makayev and Cape, which was bad. But then we had Bruno Brazil versus Molly McCann, the fraud checking of McCann, the 60 billionth fraud check. Nathaniel Pineda, actually pretty decent fight. Nathaniel Wood beating the shit out of Pineda, dropping him, almost finishing him, but just couldn't escape the decision. Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Arnold Allen pretty much beat Chikadze on the feet for the most part, taking the second and the third rounds, just having a better game plan than him. He gave a shout out to his Nana. You know what? Can't be mad about that. Shout out Nana. Rodriguez versus Christian Leroy Duncan. I'm just saying, when Christian Leroy Duncan's opponent pulled out, and I saw Gregory Rodriguez announce that he had a fight coming up in soon, I was like, oh, he's fighting Christian Leroy Duncan. and he whoops Duncan. Took him down, beat his ass on the ground. I remember seeing people say Christian Leroy Duncan's gonna put a masterclass on Gregory Rodriguez. No, he's not. Rodriguez beat him on the feet. He took him down, beat him up on the ground. He beat him everywhere. Masterclass from Rodriguez. Then Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. Crazy first round sub from Paddy Pimblett. Absolute jiu-jitsu masterclass. And he was kind of beating him on the feet. Well, he wasn't beating him on the feet. But, he was holding his own. He was landing good kicks. He was stumbling Bobby Green. It's crazy. I mean, I guess his name is King Green now, but I'm not calling him fucking King. I'm calling him Bobby. Then we have Aspinall Blades, the first round KO of Tom Aspinall, the Goat Spinall. Tom Goat Spinall. You know what it is. Then we had the Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. Edwards versus Muhammad. You know what? I don't even think that fight was that boring. I think it was a pretty competitive fight. People are gonna say that Bilal dominated Edwards, and then say Merab had a competitive fight with O'Malley. I think both fights were competitive. I thought Leon took 2 rounds. I thought he took the fifth because he was beating the shit out of Bilal towards the end, but he just tried to stay too technical with it and focused on fucking head position, dude. Jesus Christ. But yeah, all in all, 304, not a bad card. Not a bad card. Not a bad card at all. 305, Duplessis versus Adesanya. Oh, now that I'm remembering this fight card is, oh shit. Hold on, let me look it through it. I'm looking through it right now. Hold on, looking through it. Okay, it's a pretty good fight. We're skipping over Tom Nolan and Song Kanon's fights because they were mid. Tom Nolan should have fucking slept Alex Reyes in the first round, and Song Kanon should have slept Ricky. But it's whatever. But Jesus Aguilar started with a big fucking submission win in the first round. We had Jack Jenkins getting a nice, clean, crispy KO over Herbert Burns. A clean fight, chopping at the legs, ripping body shots. Casey O'Neill pretty much outclassing Luana Santos. Josh Keelybell got robbed. That made me want to kill myself. Walter Walker submitting Junior Tafa in the first round. What Junior Tafa literally yelled, he yelled. Fighters are literally told, if you scream, I'm taking that as a verbal submission. They're told that in the back. They are aware of it. And then he had the audacity to slap Walter Walker for trying to show respect. He's a fucking baby and a pussy. Fuck Junior Tafa. That's why I'm picking Chris Barnett to beat him. Next up, Li Jingliang, Carlos Prates, crazy fucking knockout. Entertaining fight. I think it showed how legit Prates really is. We had Rosenstrike Tuivasa. Sad to see Tuivasa lose again, but pretty entertaining fight. Rosenstrike mixing it up. Clean combinations. Gamrot versus Hooker. Absolute war. War. That Dan Hooker won. Kai Kara France, Steve Ursig. It sucks to see Steve Ursig get knocked out like that, but it was a good fight and it was a crazy good knockout. Duplessis Adesanya. Don't care what you say. Duplessis was beating the shit out of Izzy on the field. I'm not gonna say that. I think it was 2-1. Duplessis going into the fourth. He hurt him and then subbed him. Crazy fight. Crazy entertaining. All in all, fucking amazing. Oh, did I not rank it? I'll give this an A tier. UFC Noche. Okay, now let's look at this. Ooh, mid. But then goaded, 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 goaded. Goaded, 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 mid, mid. Okay, so Rosas Arichi Lang was mid as fuck. Then we had Shira's Van, War, fucking war. Crazy second round, probably the round of the year. Actually, no, we know what round of the year is. We're gonna get to that. Souza versus Yasmin Uribe. Crazy knockout, crazy fucking submission from Souza. Uribe was fucking piecing her up, and then Souza's just a man, so she fucking dropped her ass and then lashed up a submission immediately. I feel bad for Uribe though. Bahamondes Torres, crazy, just slick slide back, fade back right hand counter from Ignacio Bahamondes. Torres is just, he got fraud checked. I'm not gonna say he got fraud checked because Bahamondes is really good. Norma Dumont versus Irene Aldana. Fucking back and forth. Actually, I'm not gonna say it was back and forth. Domination from Norma Dumont. Opened up the craziest cut on Irene Aldana's forehead with a headbutt. It was with a headbutt. Not intentional, but it was a headbutt. Ronaldo Rodriguez, Ode Osborne. Crazy fight. Ode Osborne dropping him in the first, getting dominated in the second. And then it was a close, razor close third round that hard to say. People probably give it to Osborne. I think yeah, Osborne should have won it, but still crazy close fight, great fight, competitive fight. Can't even be mad about it. Can't be mad about it if you're Ode Osborne, but still great fight. Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovic. Fight of the year. No questions about it. It was fight of the year. Brian Ortega, Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez calling his shot and showing his level. Showing that he is that guy. Then there was Grasso Shevchenko and Merab versus O'Malley. So there were 10 total fights. 70% were fucking amazing. 30% were boring. And I think the way people think about this card, I think they're going to shit on it just because the last two fights left a bad taste. But if we're looking at the card from a whole, and we're looking at the overall entertainment of the fight and how good they were as a whole. You know what? We're going to do that. Now, Pereira versus... Yeah, I'll stick with that. Pereira versus Round... Oh yeah, it was 2 weeks in between Moicano and Sante. Yeah. Pereira versus Roundtree. You know what? Entire card. Early prelims. Since we like just kind of recapped this card already, and I think what we know where we're gonna place it. And you know what? I think it was a C tier event. Just there were a lot of boring fights. Aldo got robbed. Kevin Holland fucking broke his rib. And if we look at it compared to Pereira's other two cards this year, UFC 300, impossible to top that. And then Pereira versus Prochaska wasn't the greatest, but when you have fights like Silva Jourdain, Eifert Burial, and then Talbot versus fucking Talbot versus Gamori. Then you had Chasson versus was it Chasson versus Silva, and then Lopez versus Ige. It's just night and day difference between these two. What we can say is that in this fight, Buckley and Pereira were the redeeming moments of this card. But all in all, I think this is my rankings for it. If you don't agree with it, it is what it is. If you agree with it, if you don't agree with it, tell me what you don't agree with and where you would have put it. But that's about it. See ya.